Thank you for joining me. I'm Alex, and I want to talk to you about Tesla's main advantage. And the analysts always get one thing so totally wrong. Like, literally every single piece that you read or watch that talks about Tesla and how the competition is always coming, always have one main thing that they always ignore. And so you hear that competition is coming ever since they released the Model S in 2012. The Audi e-tron was announced in 2013, and it's actually on the market only 6 years later. So competition is coming. Everyone's always like, the big auto companies are going to make a competitor to the Model S, the Model X, now the Model 3, and obviously the Model Y. And everyone should be very afraid because Tesla's going to die, because once they actually get competition, they just can't compete. And so one thing that is not the main thing is Tesla is superior in literally every single way. So we still don't have a car that has a better range of the 2012 Model S, except for Tesla. Their Model S has a bit bigger range. Their Model 3 has a better range. And the Model Y is obviously going to have a better range. And with the next generation of batteries, the Model X might actually have a better range. So there is no other car company that can beat a 7-year-old car from Tesla. Their engines or motors are superior. Their batteries are clearly superior. Their screens and the whole technical side clearly superior. And the AC or cooling system or all that combined is obviously superior to everything that any of them can build right now. So I don't see a car that has them beat in literally any of those aspects, but they could get there eventually. So if Tesla were to stand still for the next, 3 to 5 years, then a competitor would clearly beat them at some point. But I don't see that happening. The main thing that they all ignore every single time is batteries. And I just read an article, I think it was on Bloomberg, that said that Ford might just start producing electric vehicles, and it's not that hard to retool their factories to produce electric vehicles. So Tesla should obviously be very afraid, because competition is coming. Still, again, always. Anyway, so there is no doubt that all of these manufacturers could just retool their factories and build electric cars right now, today, and crank out 1 million of them every year. And what makes you wonder is that they haven't, even though the demand is obviously there. And the one thing that Tesla has that all of these don't is batteries. Tesla has a gigafactory that currently produces 28 gigawatt hours of batteries every year. They're expanding that. They're building another gigafactory in Shanghai. They're still working on better batteries. They're still working on more batteries in their original gigafactory, and they're still continuing to expand that factory. So Tesla, when it started, did some calculations and figured out that they need the 35 gigawatt hours of batteries that eventually they would need for all their cars, which is right now. And so they started to build that gigafactory. At the time, that was all batteries, all lithium-ion batteries that were produced in the whole world combined. And Tesla is just like, we kind of need to double that to have any shot at bringing an electric vehicle to the mass market. And all of these other manufacturers are just like, yeah, we can build an electric car, and they never really address the problem that none of them have enough batteries to do anything. That's why the Kia Soul is not selling. That's why the Kia Niro is not selling. That's why the Hyundai Ioniq is not selling. The Nissan Leaf is pretty much the only one that has batteries in sufficient quantities to actually have a mass market vehicle, and the Chevy Bolt. But mass market means maybe a couple thousand a month, when Tesla is cranking out, 30,000 a month? So none of these actually have any ability to even get batteries in sufficient quantities from anywhere, and none of them are addressing the problem. So not only can they not compete with the superior car in any way, they don't have the batteries if they could compete. So unless someone solves the battery problem, and obviously Panasonic's working on it, LG is working on it, there's a couple Chinese manufacturers that are working on it, but right now it seems like they couldn't get enough batteries even if they tried, and they're not trying. So I see the dominance of the Tesla vehicles for maybe another couple years before all of the other manufacturers know where they can get batteries, and that's when they could start to compete with, at that point, a 9-year-old car from Tesla. Think about that. Think about having to run around with a 2012 iPhone while Apple just continues improving what they have. So I really am not worried at this point, or at 2 years into the future, about the Tesla and the competition that's always coming, or there's just nothing out there, and there's nothing they can do to really scale that up, and they're not interested enough to actually throw a few $billion at the problem. None of them are actually building manufacturing capabilities for batteries. They're just like, yeah, Panasonic is probably going to build a factory somewhere to supply the batteries for us, or LG Chem, or whoever, and they're just like, it'll get there when it gets there, So that's why I own a lot of Tesla stock right now, and that's why I'm not selling any Tesla stock at any point. And I still think that Tesla is just going to continue to dominate the EV market for pretty much ever, because the technical superiority is not going to be solved, especially with them dragging their feet in. They're not even putting a decent touchscreen in their vehicles. There's nothing that allows you to control the whole vehicle on the touchscreen in any of their competitors. And you can control half of the Tesla car on the app on your phone. None of them have anything like that. So, very comfortable with Tesla right now. Really don't see that anything is going to come to really hurt them in any way. And I think it's a really, really good stock. I think it's the best stock out there to hold for a very long time. And my horizon here is probably at least 5 to 10 years. And I'm going to evaluate that every year, obviously, but at this point, I think that Tesla is going to be the dominant auto manufacturer in about 10-ish years. Obviously, we'll see how that plays out. I'm not psychic, so gonna have to wait and see. Anyway, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. I'm coming out with more videos every day before market open. I hope you have a successful day.